Okay, if I'm not mistaken, I think we are live.
Yep.
Perfect. Yep. Mike, how are you?
Hey, Kevin, I'm really good, mate. How's things with you?
Yeah, things have been pretty busy, and it did take me quite a bit of time to put the roadmap together. And I've been working on that. Apart from that, it's just, setting up the BD team, basically, to reach out to the aggregators and other platforms for the swap. So yeah, was busy with that. How about you? How's your health now?
Yeah, it's pretty good. We'll move forward. A few other things to get done, but yeah, I'm good.
Great. Leo, how's things with you?
Yeah, good. Preparing for the swap campaign. So was busy, getting things, putting the teaser out yesterday. So now the team is working, on the UI side of things to make a better user experience, getting the infrastructure ready. So really excited. Few more days to go.
Great. Okay, good. Um, okay, let me do one thing. I'll share my screen and we'll go through the, roadmap. And basically, I wanted to go through, the previous releases that we had and a couple of other things. Like it could be a little bit all over the place, but at the end of the day, this 1.5 hour session will really help, the community to even understand what's going on behind the scenes and where we are headed towards, right? What's the plan taking this forward? Okay, let me share my screen. Perfect. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Got it. Yep.
Perfect. Let me. Yeah. Okay, I think let's kickstart this. So the first one is, the fact where we'll go through the previous releases that we had, the what's currently in progress, the future release, roadmap with the direct swap, the bonus rights, the rights issue, the direct swap projections, and also, how are we going to approach the price appreciation, burning mechanism, and this whole phase of ours at this particular stage, of stabilizing, the utility and preparing the fundamental or foundation for adoption, right? And we will share this document. Whatever I go through today, we will share all this information, with the community members. So I won't, spend time over here going through the previous releases. I'll jump into currently in progress and the future release. The community members can read it for themselves. Okay, so we did go through, one of the most important thing. We did do the VM audit, right? So from the core perspective, we did do the VM audit where, as a standalone virtual machine, it was given good health. The report was good. But the second report that came up, where we should have followed better development practices, such as, commenting on the code and even integration, right? With the consensus, the VM and the consensus integrating, there were certain red flags there, which we have updated. So that's done. Now moving on, right? Moving on, we have the L1X core audit, which is basically in progress at this stage, and we are expecting it to be completed with the code being open sourced by Q4 2024, which is by this year, or early Q1 2025, probably January. Now that depends on the preliminary report that we receive. So if there are quite a bit of issues that we need to fix, then of course it will extend to January. Now what we have done, one good news over here, what we have done is we have also added the extoc code into the core audit code. So these are not two different audits now. This is one single audit in a single repository that's in place at this stage. And we are also working currently on the Xtalk node hosting. I'm sorry, before that, the L1X core staking, which is in progress. It will be released this year. It's very important to get this out by this year, because next year is going to set, the benchmark for us in terms of us pushing swaps, and we'll see what is the goal, how many numbers, what's the trading volume we are expecting, what's the fees we are going to collect. We're going to see all those numbers. But yeah, L1X core staking this year, we're expecting that to happen. We also have the Xtalk node hosting. Basically, that's scheduled for Q1 2025, and the Xtalk node staking, which is scheduled for Q2 2025. And slowly, we will all see how Xtalk node is, even though the node hosting is going to happen later, in later down the line, which is in 2025, we will see how important they are, even in terms of the swaps for us, or even the fees that these guys will be earning. So that's a little bit about the core module in terms of what's currently in progress and what's to come. Now, moving down, we have for the core, and now moving down to the application side of things. Yes, so you can read all this information, whatever we released previously. So uh, a lot of questions were coming up. Okay, what tech was built in total? Where were these resources used? What was the timeline of things? So we put everything together for you guys. Now, with the direct swap, right? We launched that on in November, meaning properly launched it in November. So October, of course, 26th October, we did release the first version of it, but we updated that. And moving on, direct swap is going to be the cornerstone of the core protocol in terms of the utility. And when I say the cornerstone, what I mean by that is it's going to be positioned towards two important things. One is appreciating the price, on how will we correlate every trading volume that happens through direct swap. There should be a direct correlation in the increment of the L1X price, right? Number one. And number two, also, how does every trading volume happening allow us to go and reward the existing community members? And at the same time, how does both of these things tie up together to let us go out and burn certain coins, right, in the long run? So that's how it's going to be the cornerstone, or the fundamental core of where we are approaching this. Now, in order to do that, we have a few things which we require in terms of the direct swap being the cornerstone of things. So the first one is the direct swap API release. So the APIs are currently prepared. We are currently testing the APIs where every project out there, anyone wanting to use direct swap will be able to go to L1X app, just connect your wallet, create a profile, and generate an API key. So you'll be able to generate 3 API keys, per project, and if you need more than that, we need approval from the team. So the API with the documentation set will be released this month. That's what we are aiming for. And after that, we have the direct swap widget, which is supposedly to be released this year as well, Q4 2024. And we also have something called as NPM registry. Now, why have we divided it into these 3 different parts? The reason for that is, in terms of the scalability and complexity of integration, these 3 things are positioned from a very uh, you know uh, uh, targeted approach. So if you look at the widget, if you do not have a developer base, you're a simple blog generating, crypto blog generating website, or if you're an influencer having your own website, you can stick on the widget in there, and we'll see the affiliate fees as well, what kind of fees are associated with that. If you are already a project where you are already into the Web3 or even Web2, and you want to get started with the swap process, the APIs are a good place to go. They're very simple to use. But if you want to have your own, say, customization to it, you want to go in and integrate direct swap with your stake services, right? Saying that, okay, The user has come in, and the user wants to swap into this coin and stake with us, or there are meme coin launchpads, right, on Solana, where user trying to move into Solana may need to swap before they can go and buy these meme coins. You want a different customization to it. That's where the NPM registry comes in and allows you to customize that. So all of these three things will be released one after the other, the API coming first, the widget coming second, and the NPM registry coming third in this year. Now, one of the most important things, is majority of our website traffic comes in, on L1X app comes in through L1X direct traffic, and the other one is through the referral structure. So we are updating the referral structure, making sure that it's very accessible. You can go into your account, you can see, how many transactions has been processed through your referral links and how many coins you can claim, right? So this year we are going to focus on, a very simplistic module for you where you share your referral link, and at the same time, each and every swap pair, for example, if you want to go from Ethereum to Solana, each and every swap pair will have a referral link association as well. So if you wanted to send, a token swap pair to someone that is deterministically set, you can go in and share it from the widget, and your referral link will be attached to that. So this year we are going to focus on you earning referrals, from L1X, but in the next quarter, quarter 1 2025, if you do not go in and cash out your L1X, you will be able to claim your referral in USDT as well. So both of these options will be available for you to claim, and it's a very lucrative business. We'll see the numbers, but it's very lucrative. The other one is the L1X NFT tier, reward distribution and panel. And if direct swap is the cornerstone, right, of the of the foundation right now, NFT tier is the facilitator of the cornerstone, meaning it's linked in such a way where, while creating this whole of this life cycle where every trading volume you should be visible that the price of the coin is going to increase. One dollar in trading volume, X number of price increment in the coin, right? To be able to push that forward, to scale that in terms of doing it quickly, the NFT tiering system is going to help us, and we'll see how later down the line. We will also have the swap statistic dashboard. So each and every swap going through, you will be able to go and see all the transactions happening. Even currently, you can go to L1X app and see all those transactions happening, but we will make one specifically for the swap. Okay, great. Anything you want to add, Mike or Leono, until here?
Yeah, I think the swap statistics dashboard that was requested by a few of the community members as well. So just a message that yes, we are working on it and it will be out soon.
And I think probably one of the key things to highlight is our focus on the core capability. That's something that we've had that feedback from community members who can see it as well. And I think it's going to make a big difference being able to get out there. And as you covering off in this roadmap here around the B2C and the B2B2C, that should have a massive impact when we can start going out there to some of these other exchanges, the aggregators, and bring them on board and start getting access to their communities, their users. They'll start seeing the benefit of using L1X. It's all about what we provide, that faster, safer, and cheaper. That's the key offering. That's what people need. Having some conversations yesterday and even today with different people, they can see the benefit. So the more we focus on that, I think the greater, the faster we'll move forward.
Yeah, agree. So 2024 is going to help us set the foundation of direct swap, meaning that we all have all the necessary tools we need, along with the business development team set up. And one of the other thing is I'd like to add before I move on is we are speaking to two different influencers at this stage, where they have a combined following of 4 million users. And the idea over there we are taking is, instead of going and talking generically about the protocol, we will tie up this influencership to a certain campaign. So yesterday we launched Swapathon, right? And you know, because if you see the number of transactions coming in and you see the price going up, it makes perfect sense for these influencers to push something like that to their users, right? So both of these influencers, that we are speaking to are very excited to join in, and it's kind of a brand ambassadorship kind of a program where they will help us bring other influencers on board, creating this whole hierarchy of pushing this whole campaign out there. So we do have these influencers, waiting to push this campaign forward as well. Now, moving on in 2025, two main things. Quarter one is we will be listing L1X coin on Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, and Radium, right? And it's a pretty technically challenging process to do it if you look at layer ones that are not EVM compatible, natively, right? We are in EVM compatible, but it's an add-on service which we have on top of the core. So by listing layer 1x coin on these four exchanges, in a sequence, you go Uniswap, Radium, and then you go SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, right? What it does is it helps us run marketing campaigns specifically focusing on certain dexes like Radium, campaign for a month, Uniswap campaign for a month. And at the same time, this allows the other users as an entry pathway into the buying process of the coin. Right. So that's what we want to push. We want them to go and keep buying these coins on every activity that they do with us. It could be swap, it could be stake, it could be integration of the direct swap APIs by aggregators. So we want to make sure that these exchanges are also supported with us. And on the other end, not only are we going to make L1X, trade ready on these exchanges, but also at the same time integrate these exchanges and all the coins available in these exchanges into the direct swap. So, and why this is going to be late quarter one 2025 is if you go to any of these aggregators, they're simply going from one route to the other one by one. What we are trying to establish over here is use Xtalk as a replacement of swapping any token to any token from any chain. That has a lot of technical challenges to it. And I mean, more than 60 to 70% of the coins, we know these coins are native coins, USDC, USDT, where people want to swap to and from, right? But having the ability to go from any coin to the other coin, into the direct swap widget allows us to extend the direct swap services to upcoming projects onto the platform if they wanted to list the coin with L1X and be trade ready on the other exchanges, right? So from BNB buying it into the L1X, a token built on L1X, for example, and vice versa. So rather than taking that right now, we have pushed it back, which makes perfect sense for us. And this all adds up into the buying process of the coin. Like we want to create pressure on the buy, right? And that's what these two things are positioned towards. Now, let's probably move into, some strategies like, okay, all fair and good. Anyone can create, an objective like, okay, direct swap is going to do X, Y, and Z. But if you take it one level down now, right? Let's go one notch, one level down and see, okay, how can we, like, what do we need now to do all this? Like, what is the aim, right? So the monthly traffic on L1X app, right? Let's say the direct swap as of right now has two different strategies. It's focused on B2C and one is B2B2C, right? For B2C, L1X app is going to be the crown jewel, right? That is a crown jewel. And the monthly traffic on L1X app it averaged out to around 4,000 users per month, with around 20% connecting wallet and around 5% performing a swap. So our swaps have increased over the last 3 to 4 months. And at the same time, the conversion rate of a user coming on L1X app and actually performing a swap is pretty good. Because at this stage, the user is not coming on L1X app from swap perspective. He's coming on L1X app, mainly directly probably to check Explorer, to check any account, right? To check so many different services. We have a huge number of new users coming in. So if you go to L1X app right now as well, we want to increase that number, and we'll see how much we need to increase, but we want to increase that number. And the way we are going to increase that number, is by a couple of things. So at this stage, 95% of the traffic, is coming through direct and through referrals. So there is no paid marketing going on there. Even then, we are getting those many users, around 110, 120 users, a day. So what we are going to do is we're going to divide the marketing of the swap into three different parts for B2C. The first one is going to focus on the referral program, right? And the referral program is pretty strong. So our business development team has created a list of all the mods, basically, in all the Web3 projects that you see. And the referral, basically, when the mods of these specific Discord go out there and push this swap onto their own users, right? That's the best way we feel is reaching out to these communities that are actually in need of swaps. So they don't have to use it, but there is an option available if the community wants to use it for the swap. So we are not tied up to, let's say, the project having to integrate L1X, right? Because there is a referral attached to it. Either the project can create a referral link and pass it on to the mods, or the mods themselves can create. They don't need the permission of the project. The mods can push the swaps straight away. The other one is something like Swapathon. And we'll get into the numbers of Swapathon a bit later. But the objective of Swapathon is creating, a draw and also creating a competition, bringing in users through the pull effect. Where we'll look at the numbers. I mean, let's talk about that later. And of course, very importantly, the influencer network, right? I can't emphasize this enough now, where I think the direct swap is at a stage where the influencers being positioned out of the 100 new people coming in, we know that half of it is going to come through the influencer network, at least, right? So that's where we are talking to these influencers, where they will be generating their own referral code, right? And they will be making more referral commissions compared to the other users, or because of their reach, right? Of course, they're not going to do it for free. I mean, they need a base for that. But 80% of the rewards are positioned towards performance. So that allows us to get more influencers on board, where we don't mind giving a little bit more out of our fees than giving away something and we don't know what you're going to do with it, right? So we'll get a bit into this, what the Swapathon is, right, into detail of it a bit later, but that's the overall strategy. And even for Swapathon, when we see, I think I'm talking too much on Swapathon. Let me move on. Anyways, moving on with the B2B2C, right? Now, we are focused, we have created a whole list of over 150 projects out there. And these projects are mainly categorized into three different parts: aggregators and dexes, marketplaces, and launchpads. So based on the traffic on the aggregators and the marketplaces and launchpads, what we are doing is every user interacting with that specific launchpad or marketplace or aggregator, we want to see if this user is actually trying to swap from somewhere and coming to the platform to buy that, right? So you can see that because the DEX or aggregator addresses, contract addresses are known. So if a user has just swapped and then he is using that money to go and buy a certain product from these three categories, this gives us a use case of going to these projects and telling them, out of 100, 25% of your users are swapping X amount of value and are coming onto your platform to buy a product. Why don't you provide this service internally, right, through the APIs? So it's not targeting them blindly. Do you want this or not? With the fact where maybe they may buy, maybe they may not. It's a specific approach. Like in a month, we focus on these 30 people, one a day, where we prepare a holistic report about why they should use our product and go out and reach out to them, right? And as I said, targeting the mods, of these Discord channels first is very helpful because they get acquainted with us, right? their community members get acquainted with us if these projects don't partner with us directly, right? Um, as I mentioned before, the mode of focus will be through APIs, through the widget, and through the NPM package. As per the level of complexity, you've got the widget, the API, and the NPM package. I mean, as if even if the projects are trying to act hard with the mods, all the mod can do is he could spin up his own referral link, or he could spin up a single page with a widget put on there and sell it to the community members in that space. As long as you're offering like a secure, bridgeless way of performing swaps, right? And it makes sense for the user to do it based on the prices that the user will see on L1X app through the comparison chart. Um, it helps us grow the traffic as well. We'll see where, once I open up the Excel sheet, I'll show you the swap market and what we are targeting, where we want to be. But before that, Mike or Leonel, do you have anything you want to say?
I think for me, probably touching on it again is around the APIs and enabling those projects out there to actually start connecting through and using it. And whether it's an aggregator, whether it's any other sort of Web3 based project, but really focused around anything to do with the trading and swaps. I think that's absolutely key for us to move it forward and actually start getting further adoption. And with already 4,000 odd users, that's pretty decent. We'd like to add some zeros to that, but we've got to build up to it. Everybody knows that. It takes that adoption, and I think we've tried all sorts of methods with the marketing, and a lot of the comments coming out in the communities around when are we going to start marketing. Well, the reality is we have been marketing for a long time. Obviously, those efforts haven't been fruitful, but by adopting direct communication with the various aggregators, their communities, and projects is actually I should make a very good difference. It's actually targeting the right, the right areas.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and on top of that, since we'll be approaching the businesses, excuse me, with the data that they're going to a third party, basically doing a swap, and then coming onto your platform. We actually have a proof that you are more profitable if you just implement this onto your system. So that is one good selling point when we offer them just show what data we have.
Yeah, and I think as I take this, right, like this whole interoperability thing is like globalization, right? Where 40 to 60% of the money of that a country generates is going out now, right? And every chain is specifically focused on their own specialty, where there will be cases, there will be an increment in the money flowing out in the future, right? And that's where you don't go to a cross-border shopping platform, convert your money, and then buy something. You use Visa or Mastercard straight away and buy. So that's the approach over here. Like if you're on Solana meme launch pads, or you're on some kind of AVAX's arbitrage platform, it should be a natural process for you to use these products, and that's where the direct swap comes in, where you don't even have to specifically connect a wallet. When the projects implement it correctly, where we'll be very strict about the documentation, these guys will be able to bake the direct swap in such a way that even if the user does not have balance and they want the user to start performing something, the project can pay for it and then later on collect it from the user. So they maintain like a secondary, ledger book for the project, right? So this helps the project to do certain things like credit giving systems and so many different applications of direct swap. But anyways, now coming to the fees, right? And now it will start making sense why we had the NFT tiering system. Why are we having, these? Why are we having these referrals and projects, affiliation, and all these things, right? So quite a bit over here. Let's go through it one by one. Pretty important, section. So there are two different types of incoming, right? Which we are going to use for two different things again. One is rewarding the people, And the second one is buying the coins and burning coins on the market for price appreciation. And first one is, let's look at the swap fees, right? The first one is the base fee, which is required, which is not an option. Now, what is the base fee? The base fee basically is, the base fee of the source plus the base fee of the destination according to a certain amount, which is a, static number. If you are swapping between a certain amount, it is a static number. Plus, there is an X-stock transaction fee, which is paid for executing the X-stock contract. And if you see the fees over here is 0.001 to execute the X-stock contract. The X-stock contract actually takes in the payload, right, from EVM compatibleness, or and also at the same time allows you to translate that payload into so many different networks as well, right? So great. Now the base fee. So talking about the base fee, 50% will be going to the L1X NFT tier holders, right? Now we'll look at what this base fee, it's one of the biggest component of the swap fee, right? 25% will be going to the L1X Foundation, and 25% will be going towards buying L1X on the market and burning them, right? And over a period of time, on every swap, every base fee collected, you're going and trying to, buy the L1X from the market. And that's why we even need, a L1X listed on Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, and Radium, right? Now, the extra transaction fee goes to the full validator nodes. Now, what is going to happen is, because we've got the NFT tier, the system categorized, the king, the queen, and the rook, right? Out of that 50% base fee, 80% is going to go to the king, 16% is going to go to the queen, and 4% is going to go to the rook. That's going to start this year itself, right? And this amount is not going to be in L1X, it's going to be in USDT, right? So initially we have decided to keep this amount in USDT because that's what we are collecting from the user. So that's what will be distributed to these NFT holders. Then there is a direct swap surcharge. Now, what will happen over here is, if you do not use the direct swap and you use the standard swap, you connect your wallet and you start utilizing it. Of course, you don't pay the direct swap surcharge, but the direct swap surcharge is basically the differential amount, right, between what you would pay for approval and submission versus what you would pay for direct transfer. So there will be a percentage on that. And in cases like Ethereum, where you would end up paying $8, and for transfer you would pay a $2 fee, right? On certain transactions with a 10% surcharge, we could be making on an average of 50 to 60 cents. 100% of that is going to be used to buy L1X on the market and burn it, right? 100% of the direct swap surcharge. Now, the next one is the liquidity provision fee, which is also required. That is going to go straight away to the liquidity providers on the single staking, right? At this specific stage, we are giving out L1X for single staking. We are going to change that and we are going to make it in USDT. So any fees that we collect from the user is going to be given out. We are not going to use that to buy the coin from the market and then also allow the user to sell it back. We're going to keep it a cleaner approach for people to understand and come in first, not complicate the situation by offering L1X, beforehand, right? Destination gas fee. So basically, the destination gas fee is a combination of two things, which is the actual destination gas fee that the Xstock signer has to pay, plus 5% commission on the destination fee. So if your destination gas fee is, let's say, $1, they'll be charging you 5 cents, where 5% is paid to Xstock nodes. That will be one of the reason why people will want to also host Xstock nodes, right? And use it for the swap. Now, there are other components to it as well. So we have the referral fee, which is optional. Now, if a user has come into L1X app through a referral link and signs up, 10% of that fee, which is from the base fee only, right? The referral fee is only collected from the base fee. 10% is for the immediate referrer, and 5% is for the referrer's referral. So if there are, A, B, and C, if C does the swap, B gets 10% and A gets 5%. And this is on a continuous basis until C, keeps swapping on the L1X app. So a very good motivation for the referrals to come in where they will be rewarded straight away in stables and in native. Right now, there is also a project affiliation fee. Now, this project affiliation fee basically is based on the source amount. So I'll give you an example. When Rango Exchange decides to integrate, and is integrating with the direct swap, if the user decides I want to swap 100 USDT from Ethereum to 100 USDC on Solana, the X percentage would be on the $100. So if Rango Exchange says that, okay, we're going to charge you 0.1% or 1% on that, right? You would either be paying 10 cents or a dollar based on the percentage that they charge, which will be an additional cost for the user to make that swap. Right now, why we are trying to do this also is the fact where when users start looking at L1X swap on these aggregators as links or logos, usually the tendency for the most preferred swap, right, when the user knows that he's going to get it cheaper, is go back to the source where the swap is actually happening straight away over there, right? And when the user does that, he comes on L1X app, he sees the price comparison over there, right? He is also getting a know-how of understanding that if I wanted to swap a token that these people already have between different exchanges, I can also compare the price and see that. So it's a pool-based effect again coming in from these aggregators. Yeah. Now, the NFT tier sales, right? We haven't been pushing the NFT tier sales until now, but sooner down the line, probably in Q1 next year, that's when we'll start pushing that forward. Once the fees are collected and these holders start seeing the fees coming into their accounts. From Bishop and Knight, whatever sales happen, 100% of that amount will go into the liquidity pool for the swaps. So any amount like $25 for the Bishop and $100 for the Knight, this amount will go straight away into the LP pool for the swaps. And there is a direct correlation in terms of how much of LP is there and how many, what price can increase for L1X, right? That is why also we are doing this. From the Rook, the Queen, and the King, 50% of that will go into the liquidity pool, 25% again to the L1X Foundation for OPEX, and 25% of that will go to L1X to buy it on the market and burn it. So there are a couple of ways how, like there are 3 different ways on how we are focused on taking all the fees that we get and you go and buy, right, L1X on the market. And the reason we want to do that is we need to create a pretty streamlined system. Even if the price is low at this stage, from now on, we need to create that streamlined system saying that if we are going hardcore into the marketing on the swaps by getting the influencer network, there should be a direct correlation in the price appreciation of the coin, right? So we won't do anything that does not increase the price of the coin. There has to be a visible correlation there. That is what we are focused on, right? That's why majority of the money is going to go and we will go and buy the coins and burn it straight away, right? We're not going to move it into the treasury, out of the market. Okay, we will look at this in the end. But before that, the community has been waiting, quite a bit on the bonus rights and the rights issue. And we do have that information now, which I'll go through it. But I just wanted the community to know that the reason we also want to do this, is there are some good things for the public sale buyers. Is I think of us all as a team, right? Even the public sale guys are a part of the protocol, and I feel there has been, they should have been in a better position, or they should have got a better price when they came in, right? So for this specific bonus rights, we have tilted the direction of the advantage to the public sale buyers, but we haven't forgotten the private sale, early investors, and node buyers, right? We are also going to take them in consideration in the upcoming quarters. Before I move on to that, Mike or Leo, do you want to say anything at all?
No, well, aside from just looking at the split across the rewards and the amounts going out for NFTs, etc., is actually very good. I think starts to give our community a good clarity on what we can start expecting. So it's good effort.
Yeah, I think the buyback and burn of L1X from the revenue that's going to be generated from the NFT tier as well. And again, motivating users to go and acquire certain tiers, and then paying back in stable coins. So that's a good motivation over there.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think the community will
Okay.
appreciate the burns. To be honest, I've historically never been a fan of burns, but if it works in the right context, then absolutely.
Yeah, and I was also looking at the XLR networks strategy. So they have put up a proposal, and in there they are also talking about reducing the inflation rate, and also at the same time collecting majority of those fees and burning it in XLR tokens, right? Which is probably given out to the nodes. So it's a pretty interesting concept, because if you look at it from the long-term horizon, right? I mean, just by pushing the swaps and not rejigging how the burn is going to happen might not be very effective for the price. So I think heavy burns have to be focused on for the next 3 years.
Yep. And it also lets us reduce the circulating supply out there that we gave out with all the influencers and everybody. So which is actually a good thing.
Yes, absolutely.
For good price appreciation, which is what we want.
Exactly. Okay, now let's look at the bonus rights, right? Okay, if you can see my screen.
Yep.
In the bonus rights, the public sale invested $3 million, right? Around that. And the total coins issued were 6 million at a price of 50 cents. What we are going to do is we are going to give bonus rights of 1 to 4, which is effectively going to reduce the average public sale price from 50 cents to 10 cents. Right? And I think this for public sale buyers is justifiable, but the only condition over there, so that we can, from an overall growth perspective, we are not emitting coins out straight away. There is a cliff of 12 months and vesting of 24 months on these bonus coins that are going to be issued out. So, and we are not going to take the cliff from now onwards. We're going to consider the cliff from May onwards, right? I think that considered bringing everyone to a 10-cent line, starting line. Although it's going to be a little challenging, to get certain VCs involved after a certain point in time. But I feel that it is, an integrity question for us over here, because taking the coin from, I'll be honest here, taking the coin from where it is right now to 10 cents by pushing the swaps is very much doable. But going beyond 50 cents with the same strategy that we have, I'm not sure. I'm under promising, but I'm not sure. Only the direct swaps can help, right? But what the direct swaps will do is it will give us a strong validation for people to look at it and come in, right? So, just to be a little transparent over here, I think this is the right thing to do by the public sale buyers, bringing them to 10 cents. I think this gives them, a bit of relief that, they don't have to wait until 50 cents for things to go right in their life. What do you think?
I completely agree with that, because the discussion was up for a few weeks, like, what about the public sale buyers? If the coin price is so low, how would we compensate them? So I think, and getting to 10 cents with direct swap, I don't see a problem over there at all.
Yeah, I think, exactly that, Leo. I think with getting the direct swaps in place and doing that via those APIs gives those projects the ability to do it. They can actually own it and do it themselves, enabling those new chain integrations to happen, by the core developers on those platforms, the projects. That's actually going to be very good. Start bringing the aggregators, the sushi swaps, the pancakes, the uniswaps, etc.
Yep, that's right. Okay, moving on, the rights issue. Right now, just to be very clear over here, right? With the rights issue, we have two important, objectives with it, right? The first one is making sure that the community members get an opportunity to own a majority of the protocol, right? Which is, we gave away around 10% of the coins for the initial private and the public sale. But moving on, I think that if the community members themselves go out there and have the opportunity to buy the coins at a lower price, it's going to reduce their average price on the coin, making it easier for the all of us to get them across the break-even point, right? So that's where I feel that the rights issue has been positioned, and also at the same time, the rights issue for $2 million, we'll walk through the numbers. The rights issue for $2 million is positioned so that it's, after talking to the advisors, it's positioned so that we start off with an additional amount of liquidity into the direct swap pools, number one. And number two, from the operational side, from the business development side of things, to go and do the marketing or to do the business development for the APIs, this specific amount is going to be, or this raise is going to come in useful there. Now, of course, it is a right issue. It's not, compulsorily linked to the public sale buyers. That is only if you participate, you're going to get your bonus. But at this stage, let's just walk through it and understand the rationale behind it, right? The max L1X coin supply at this stage is going to be 1 billion. The coins in circulation as of 1st of November was around 30 million or 31 million coins. New coins to issue at 1 cent, right, is going to be around 200 million coins, which we are going to issue. And where is this going to come from? This is going to come from the growth pool, right? So the growth pool is going to be split up into two different parts, which is worth 40%. One of that pool is going to be split up by 25%, and the other one is going to be remained as it is, which is going to be left at 15%, right? Now, the total coins in circulation post this new coin issue is going to be around 230 million coins. At this specific stage, this is not open to external investors. Meaning, when I say external, retail investors, meaning anyone who wants to flip the coin from 1 to 2 cents and run for their life. But this is open. This is going to be open for two groups of people. One is the existing investors, so only those who have already invested in the protocol. And second one is, it's going to be done through a private placement. Now, we have secured an underwriting of up to $1 million for this specific issue over here. Now, if the community members are unable to, for some reason, okay, the community members do not go for it, right? We still have, a secured underwriting commitment of $1 million, and which, by the way, can be extended to $2 million if required. But these are the long-term holders of the coin. These are people that I already know from the last 3 to 4 years, right? And these people will not sell the coins until and unless there is, a healthy growth happen. So the whole tenet of the rights issue is to make sure that the coins don't fall under the wrong hands, and to also make sure that the community members average out their price. They don't have to invest, right? But your average price will still be 10 cents, right? So even if you invested, like, let's say $1,000, and you do a rights issue of half of that, right, you can reduce your average price of the coin to 2.4 cents, right, or 2.5 cents. That gives us a better starting line of break even for the community members who opt for it. If not, the private placement will have to be done. And this is the only downfall, which is it will definitely, hurt the team's, emotion by giving the coins for a private placement to somebody else coming in at a cent, right? But again, we have to do this it's a sink or swim situation for us, right? We have to do something like this to make sure that we remain afloat so that we can swim across, right, the tide. Yes. So the use of funds, as I mentioned, majority of the funds will be used for the liquidity pool, business development, the maintenance of the cross-chain swap application, and operational expenses, right? Now, the underwriting commitment has come into an agreement. We have a written agreement for $1 million underwriting, and these are long-term holders. So even if you increase the number of coins in the market by 200 million, each and every person from the private placement, is assured they are not going to sell these coins until and unless it's healthy enough to sell. But I wish that the community members go for it so that the average price can be reduced to 2.5 cents for them, even if they take 50% out of it. Now, looking at the effect, right, the tokenomics effect from bonus rights and the rights issue, by the end of this year, if let's say, by the end of this year, right, if everything goes well, if all the 200 million coins are taken up with the bonus right, plus, without the rights issue, minus the treasury, will be having around 27 million coins. With the rights issue minus the treasury, we have around 227 million coins in the market. Right now, with regards to the end of April of 2028, this is the number we should focus on, because this is the coins with the bonus rights plus the rights issue minus the treasury and minus the team, right? So 311 million coins will be out there in the market by 2028 April. Now, the way I am looking at this is, we have, 3 years, 36 months span, right? And again, as I used to say previously, right, if you are considering going into the rights issue, I wouldn't consider going into the rights issue if your investment strategy does not allow you to hold the coin for at least 36 months, right? I would highly discourage that, because the plan that we are building for the next 3 years, right, is to make sure that around 310 million coins at 10 cents, right, where we want to bring everyone down to a 10-cent range, technically, um, needs around 30 to 35 million dollars if there is a pressure on selling the coins. And our swap fee strategy for the next 3 years is focused towards generating enough capital from the fees towards the burning of the coin that can go and consume at least 50% of the circulating coins in the market at 10 cents if it was required. So making sure that the price. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this webinar, that this is a stabilization phase. What I mean by that is there could be something where the influencers go and market. I'm not talking about market shocks, such as people looking at the swap going, okay, this looks crazy good, let me go and buy the coins now from Uniswap, right? If that happens, perfect. There are people going and buying it through the influencer campaigns. But if we just focus on what we have, right, and not too much rely on the outside world, we will be doing that, but not relying on that, not promising you something on that, right? Something which is kind of in our control is generating 30 to 35 million dollars in by 2028 to be in a position to buy these coins. That's where these numbers are going to help us. Okay, before I move on to the swap market and how are we going to generate that money, like what do we need to do, right, to generate that kind of revenue? Before I move on to the Excel, Mike or Leo, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I would recommend all the community members to just go through the document, have a look at the webinar as well. And as Kevin mentioned, if you don't have a long-term investment plan, then you should just give it a second thought before you move into it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to recommend that enough. Yeah, man.
Yeah. No, I think doing this to bring down the average price down to at least a 10-cent mark is actually very good. Something that'll actually build a lot of confidence, I think, in the community. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about, let's go to the swap market now. I think if we are hedging so much on the swap market, right, to collect the fees to make sure that we increase the price to 10 cents, 12 cents over a period of time, right? Apart from external factors, we are still working on external factors, but this is a plan where, operational plan where we are going to set in place for that moment. Right? Let me share my screen. Yeah. Right. Okay. Now, when we look at the bridging market, right? And I'm not talking about centralized exchange swap market. I'm not talking about so many different ways to do swaps, right? I'm specifically focusing on bridges, right? Whose market share we want to actually be a part of, right? Through bridgeless X-Talk technology. When you look at the bridge volume stats over a period of 2 years, right, from 2022 to 2024, the bridge market has actually gone up to $130 billion market, right, which is aimed at going to $1 trillion by 2028, right? And that's a staggering like 20,300% increase in the volume. And we know that the market currently is all over the place because the swap prices are all over the place, right? And there is a lot of appetite for newcomers in there, right? And we'll see when I say what I mean by that. So if you look at the top 17 bridges out there, they occupy 90% of the bridging volume, right? 90% of the bridging volume is with the swap top 17 protocols. And most of it, right? Like even let's say half of it is coming from October last year until now. So 1 year, right? And majority of these guys have positioned themselves as a Michael Phelps of something. So it could be for example, it could be the Arbitrum bridge, right? It could be the Mantle bridge, for example. For a specific network, you're building a specific bridge and you're allowing the people to go back and forth. But that's not the case with the bottom 13 bridges in the top 30. With the bottom 30 bridges in the top 30, they have been able to reach a percent of the market share, and most of them, as you see, has launched during this specific year, right? So is there a direct correlation in saying that, okay, by just looking at these metrics, we mean that there is an opportunity for us to get a certain part of the market share? I think partially we can resonate to it, right? But what about our unique selling proposition, right? Where are we positioning ourselves in this whole landscape of things? Like if you look at the whole bridging market, one is positioned towards the volume. Someone like Target Finance, you can swap $500,000 if you wanted to, right? Some are focused towards unique tokens, right? Sol, BTC, and then some are focused towards a specific bridge. Like I'm only focusing on this network and this network, right? In our case, we are going to focus on accessibility of this. And what I mean by that is, at this particular stage, we are going to focus on the direct swap B to B2C mainly because of how easy it is for any project out there to start making some money, you know, to start making some money based on the fact that they can start earning things out of it, right? If the user is swapping and coming to the protocol, they can start making money. So that's where we are going to focus first. But according to our analysis, we believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, it is the aggregators who's going to lead this market. And when I say that, in our case, in the next 2 years, we should be in a position where Stargate, it could be cross chain. All these are interconnected to Xtalk, so that we don't only rely on our own liquidity pool for swaps to happen. So we want to sell the accessibility first, and then add the other networks into the infrastructure. Where as a plugin, as an option for these projects to access that, right? So that's where we are going to position ourselves. Now, of course, we did go through the swap fee model, or what is that fee model at this stage, with Neeraj the last time, Dr. Neeraj the last time, and it's very competitive, but there is a lot of appetite in here still to increase the fees. Like, and when I say appetite, what I mean is, if you look at the bridging market and the fees for something like Sol, right, and ETH swap, we are probably, from the fee perspective, we are at the lowest end of the spectrum, right? Now, even if you compare someone like dBridge, who's charging you $8 versus us charging you $1.50, there is a huge room of appetite in there, right? So it's not to say that we are going to keep changing our fee model, but based on the number of transactions and the activities that we are going to do, we are going to keep revisiting this fee to generate the maximum amount to reach our target of $31 million, by the end of 2027. Now, let's look at the liquidity impact, right? And basically, what do we need to do, in the next 3 years to be in a position where, if let's say there was, no one buying L1X, like, in the next 3 years, there is not one single person who's going to buy L1X, right? For example, just based on the swap, what we need to do, right? And of course, we know that's never the case. Once your product reaches a certain utility validation stage, then people jump in to understand, okay, one small feature like making L1X as the universal gas fee then makes perfect sense when you can start correlating it with the price appreciation, right? Not making it too complicated initially. So let's just go through this, right? And first one is, this is based on the fact where we believe we can reach to these numbers in the next 3 to 4 years, right? The average swap value is $250, right? At this stage, the proposed swap fee rate for the base fee and the proposed swap fee rate for the LP, right? So this is basically, how much are we charging for Arbitrum base and LP, and using the swap value as, the base to calculate the swap fee rate, right? Now, the sensitivity factor over here is the ability of saying, what capital efficiency will come. Now, the capital efficiency coming in is reliant on the number of swaps, meaning, or the dollar value of the swaps that happen. So it could be, more users coming in and doing higher value swaps versus many users coming in doing more swaps with lower value, right? So on both these factors, where the marketing push from the referral, the swapathon, there are so many different, push coming towards it, right? From the B2C and the B2C perspective. So the proportionality constant, of course, is determined by the sensitivity factor and the average swap value. Now, when I say $50 million in target liquidity, I don't say $50 million in target liquidity starting day one. I mean $50 million in target liquidity over a period of 2 years, right? And when you use the sensitivity factor of 1, we get the predicted swap volume per day, right? Now, this number of $18 billion, right, in the total swap volume may look a big number. But let me remind you one thing, which is this number is expected to be there in the next 3 years, right? It could be on an annual run rate of $18 billion, or it could be, heavily reliant on maybe more on that. But the swap market is going to increase to $1 trillion market. So $18 billion is less than 2% of the market, right? And our goal should be increasing our market share based on the trading volume and the count of swaps that we can keep doing over a period of time, right? When you get at 1.8% of the market and you look at today's numbers based on this bridging volume, you'll be in the top 30 protocols that allow for bridging to happen, right? And when we are focusing exclusively on direct swap, and that is our only goal to move forward for the next 2 to 3 years, right? That also means that these numbers are not only reliant on L1X app, but also from the fact that many projects will be using the direct swap, which uses the Xstop contract to come in, which is also an ecosystem building activity, right? And the proposed transaction count in the next and when I say 3 to 4 years, it's not that we don't, we are trying to come up with numbers over here. I'm just saying 3 to 4 years based on, is the swap market going to be $1 trillion market in 3 years, or is it going to be in 4 years, right? Well, we believe it's going to be in 3 years, but it could be 4 years. If it's 2 years, great, right? So if the swap market grows, we got to grow along with that. So 72 million transactions over a 3-year period, right? Now, 200,000 transactions a day, that's crazy high if you think about it. But also let me remind you that at this stage, most of the transaction, like 40% of the trading volume, transaction volume on Solana comes from meme coins, right? Now, when you look at Near Protocol, their annual revenue is $35 million. Right? And when you look at someone like Solana or Ethereum, they're in $1 billion. The problem is we can't rely only on transaction fees coming in from users to the nodes, because the cost to burn, or the burn rate that we will have to sustain over a period of years to get to that stage is crazy high. So we don't have that, right? But what we can do is we can focus on interoperable transactions baked in to the applications that the user will start bearing that cost, right? So 200,000 transactions a day, and if you compare it to the likes of Target Finance or XLR network, right? These guys are probably doing these many transactions already, right? So in the next 3 to 4 years, when the market grows by many folds, and when we are going to be positioned in there through accessibility, this is the number we are working towards. We want to reach there, right? Now, what is the fee that we will collect? And this fee does not consider many things, which is the direct swap surcharge, the Xstock node commission, the referral, and the project affiliation cost, right? These fees are not considered in there. The proposed fee, right, that we are expecting over a period of 3 to 4 years based on these many transaction count goes to around $68 million. Now, where are we going to get this 50 million from to get this $68 million, right? More on that a little later. But that's the number we are looking at from the base fee perspective. Right? From the LP fee, right, that comes to around $26 million over here, right? That is a good 35 to 40% return on investment for anybody coming in and putting in the LP, right? For the NFT holders, right, where 50% of the base fee is going to go to them, they are the majority of this, because the whole tenet of direct swap is through L1X app, right? And L1X app is through, owned by the L1X NFT tier holders, right? So 50% of that is going to go to the NFT holders, liquidity providers, L1X Foundation, and buy on market. So if you see this number over here, $17 million, we had to get $30 to $35 million to make sure that if we need to go and buy the coins at 10 cents, then we can, have $32 million in there. But as I mentioned previously, if we were to reach 50% of that, right, um, and have at least, in between 50 and $20 million to go and buy these coins, if nobody in the world is buying L1X anymore, right? These are the numbers that we have to work towards. And it's a huge number, but at the same time, one good thing that we have done over the last 6 months is we have focused a lot on the tech to make it rock solid so that any of these number of transactions coming in and with the right amount of liquidity in there, we can handle this traffic on a growing perspective, right? Yeah. So yes, Mike or Leo, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think just touching on the nodes for a second. I know there's a lot of people out there who've held off on putting their nodes in. Totally understandable, but I think as we move forward, you're going to start seeing the need for more of those nodes coming online, and that will also help us handle the larger volume of transactions. So yes, it's quite capable of handling everything at the moment that's being thrown at it. And doing it extremely well. People have reported to me that they're seeing the nodes operating very well now. So I think as we expand the number of transactions going through, we'll start seeing a need for more. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I think since, as Kevin said, we have the infrastructure ready. We have been working on that for a couple of years now. Now, that data was a good projection for the community to what we are trying to achieve. So that should give a good understanding and a head start to what we have to achieve.
Absolutely. And of course, these are huge, gigantic numbers, they look crazy big. But I mean, our whole narrative, if you look back from 2021 onwards until now, has always been on interoperability, right? And having this hardcore direct swap, utility baked into projects out there, right? And even the B2C perspective of it, I think, these numbers are achievable in 3 years, right? Getting a share of the market. And once you start getting a share on the swap market, it's again a compounding effect, right? Users pulling each other in. So the first thrust of getting that going is going to be, very hard. But again, we're onto it now. Yeah.
Just to add to that, I think there's something really important to point out here with regards to our community. It's easy to throw it back onto us to say, oh, you need to do more marketing. When are you starting it? What are you doing? A lot of the best growth that you see in projects actually comes from that viral marketing from the community itself. So people getting out there and using it, talking about it on social media, talking about it on the chat forums and the various platforms that we're looking at. That's where the promotion comes in, because people will start looking and saying, okay, it's not just another piece of marketing that somebody's pushing at us. It's coming from a real user that is putting that effort in. He's seen the capability. He can see the strength, that the scalability, the speed, the security. All of those things coming from our community, getting out there and pushing it makes a massive difference.
That's right. And I think I also wanted to go through, one last bit, which is the swapathon, right, structure. So, I mean, we wanted to do the swapathon because we wanted to start giving the influencers, some tool to go out there and promote as well. But at the same time, to let, a campaign where new users coming in, have more motivation than just from swaps. Let me share my screen again. Yep. Okay. All right. Yes. So the the swapathon again is divided into two different parts, right? One is the draw and one is the competition. And it's not that we are going to give away the money for free, right? I wanted to make sure that if we are spending something on the marketing, we get some goodness back in return, like the number of users, right? Now, on a very minimal front, the swap athon is targeting 5,000 users, right, in the campaign, right? And these 5,000 users, there will be $100,000 price pool for the draw, and there are three different slots. So the first slot has a weightage of 50%, 30%, and 20%, 1, 2, and 3 from now on. And the eligibility to be into that pool is, into that slot, sorry, is 200 swaps, 100 and 30. So if you go and do, 200 swaps, and it could be from any network to any network. Before we were going to restrict it, but we're going to make it open, any network. Any amount is fine. A single dollar is also fine, right? You get into the slot one. Now, what happens over here is there is a fee of, the average fee we have calculated is 40 cents to do the swap, right? So the cost of eligibility that you will have to get into the slot is $80 for slot one, 40 and $12, right? Now, of course, the reward multiple, right, for slot one is 625 versus over 1,600 for the slot three. But the probability of winning, if you just take a simple randomization, algo, is the highest in slot one. Because the reason for that is in slot one, we are expecting only 10% of the users to go in, right? And only these 500 users to go in. And I'll explain why this may happen, right? So based on the fact that 60% will still remain in slot three, 30% in slot two, and 10% in slot one. So if there are these 5,000 users and we divide it according to these three slots, and all these slots are filled up according to the weightage of them, we will be having 340,000 transactions, right? By these 5,000 users entering into these slots. Now, what is going to happen is because we are having these 340,000 transactions, we'll be generating, right, $136,000 in fees out of this, right? Now, why will the user want to do this? Like, why will I spend $80, and the time it takes to do the swaps? Well, if if you write an API and do the swaps continuously, you can keep multiplying it, right? Is because of the competition. Now, what is going to happen is once a user comes in and does a specific number of swaps, let's say he does 200 swaps, he gets into the leaderboard, right? And in the leaderboard, there is a decay-based, competition where if you are ranked number one, right? Let's say only 5 users joined into this competition, right? And there is one user who ranked number one. He did 201 swaps and he's ranked number one. He's going to be in the first specific slot here, where the reward is deterministically set. Right, the reward is $5,497 over here, regardless of how many swaps you do. But you have to rank first, right? Let me pull up some other numbers as well. Right. Okay. And this allows us to create a pool-based effect of the community, and with the influencers going out and bringing the competition in. Because if you look at the number of swaps that you need to do to have a break-even impact on the competition, for the first prize, it is close to 13,700 swaps, right? So anyone wanting to compete for this, you might win with 201 swap, you might win with 1,000 swap, you might win with 2,000 swap. But if there are 100 people competing for this one single, rank, the maximum someone will want to go is 13,744 swap, because after that, it doesn't make sense to win this price. You break even at this price, right? Now, if you go down the ladder over here, right, and you keep going down and you keep going down, right? In effect, like if we are targeting 100 users, right, your number of swaps that you would need to perform is close to 137, right? So 137 gets you, $54 in there as the price. But again, you could just do 21 swaps and get, this $54. So the whole criteria of this is set that you can deterministically win, but to deterministically win, you have to go through the route of the draw, right, to enter into this competition. When you look at the break-even swap counter for these 5,000 users and you add these numbers, it comes to around 125,000 swaps, right? So that's how we are positioning, close to 500,000 swaps to be done with this competition and the influencer marketing campaign to come in and use the direct swap module, right, to win this competition. So that's one of the ways we feel that it can help us to start generating this or trust basically, because even in the stabilization phase at this particular stage, we are into the trust stage where we need to make sure that we don't keep sticking around X number of transactions a day. We see a bump there on the panel, right? There is a bump happening on that swap as well. So when you take these 125,000 swaps that you can do according to the break-even counter, and you multiply that by 40 cents, the fees that the fees that is generated is $50,000, right? So in this case, what we are trying to do is, of course, now this is an idealistic condition, right? Maths is looking at an idealistic condition here. I'm not a very good mathematician, but um, as per our numbers over here, if even if half of them try to compete in this specific stage, the other half will try to swap twice as much, right, than their peer competitors, right, or sorry, plus one than their peer competitors, to keep pushing these people in the ladder. And the more number of people on the same rank, the more competition it promotes for these number of swaps to happen. So you might end up with more than 125,000 swaps here, even if you have lower amount of users coming in, because they could all start at the same level and start competing against them, gradually. Like there could be 5 people who's done 10,000 swaps, right? So based on that, we are expecting these numbers to grow. And again, any revenue coming in from these swaps, as I mentioned, where it is going to be distributed as well, right? We have that distribution set up. And from this competition itself, that revenue is going to be distributed to the people, right? So on an average, like, if you talk about $50,000 plus, we've got, $136,000, close to, $185,000 that we need to generate in revenue, either in, by the end of Jan, or 500,000 swaps, whichever is earlier. So this is what we want to thrust and push it first for the competition. And one other thing is, again, this is also associated to the referral, right? So if the referral links are shared and somebody comes in and tries to swap, to win this competition, this is how we want this to go a bit viral. We were thinking of increasing this DK-based pool a little bit more, making it double, like 100 grand, because the moment you make it 100,000, it allows us to like bump up the number of swaps significantly. But we didn't do that because this is the first time we are doing this campaign, and we just want to be careful with the dollar value going out. But the next campaign that may come, that could be, if this is successful, it could be $1 million campaign going out, right? So in this way, we want to start generating the number of swaps. Now, this is not focusing on the dollar value. This is focusing on the count of swaps. So if you look at someone like dBridge, dBridge has done 3.4 million swaps until today. So to be in the top 20 in the next 12 months, based on the count of swaps, right? These are the type of campaigns we are going to focus on a continuous basis, right? Getting the influencers run the campaign, get the influencers run the campaign, keeps on increasing the count of swaps for us. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So what do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I think the Excel sheet, especially for the swaps. So there was a discussion within the community members, like 150,000 that we are giving out. But if you see the actual values, we are still collecting the swap fees. So I mean, it's a pretty good way of marketing and getting more users and spending less. So I think that clears that out.
and with all marketing, there is a cost of acquisition that goes with it, and I think it's actually pretty good for increasing the number of users on the system. And once people start using it, they'll get they could well earn extremely well out of it. But then it encourages them to continue because they start seeing the benefit of doing it, the lower fees, the faster, safer. I'm going to keep repeating that. Let's get back to the core.
Yeah. And at the same time, I think, we had to do something to increase the number of swaps, right? To have a pivot where this can work. So I think, if you try to summarize the whole thing, as I mentioned previously, right, at the start, that this could be a little bit over the place, but at least it will give you a certain direction. At this stage, we are making sure that we have all the necessary toolkits available to push that swap. And we do have the direct swap on the app, and we do have the APIs ready, which is in testing right now. So by the end of this year, we will be in a comfortable position to run these kind of campaigns more often, increasing the number. And there will be a certain time where the L1X as the universal gas fee, right, concept is implemented, where it should be. We don't want to implement it where it's an additional feature and nobody's using it. We want to make sure that any feature we release now, is tied up to this whole process of direct swap, where these users or even projects, for example, could use it. Projects could go and buy L1X and then keep it in their reserve and then pay on behalf of the user, right? Charge a commission. So that's what we are focusing on at this stage. Yep. Yes, I think that was quite a long webinar. And I look forward to speaking on the next webinar, and by that time we'll release the APIs as well. So every week we'll give you a progress report. Every 2 weeks probably makes more sense. We'll give you a progress report on the number of swaps, and we'll release all these documents out as well, early next week, so that you can go in, have a look at the roadmap, where we are headed towards. How are we going to achieve 72 million swaps in the next 3 years? That's going to help us take the price up, right? Through the protocol itself, take the price up. If the market shock comes in, people come in and buy, they love it. That's another story for another day. But at this stage, we just focus on this, and we hit hard. We hit hard on it. Like change no tomorrow.
Good.
Okay, Mike or Leo, if you don't have anything to say, I think we'll just conclude. And yeah.
No, I think it's a very good update today. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. And I've had some good responses from the community. So yeah, good.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, I think that was a good one, and we'll see you again in the next webinar. Yeah. So yeah.
Bye. See you all.